Welcome back to the channel. Stay tuned as we're going to go over the top 7 tips I have to make your first motorcycle trip a success. Thanks for being here. Traffic today. Just wanted to say happy Father's Day out to there to first off my dad. You're probably watching this, so shout out there. And welcome back to the channel. I'm gonna leave my visor up because it's pretty warm out today, so sorry if it's a little windy. But today on the channel, I wanted to talk to you guys about, I got about 7 tips roughly for maybe your first motorcycle trip, your next motorcycle trip, you know, anything like that, or even just honestly any trip that you have. Some of these tips for trips kind of just apply universally. I think the very first one we can talk about quick is just be prepared. I mean, honestly, that can be the only tip in this whole thing, and if you did that, you'll be fine. Now, when I say be prepared, I mean basically for anything. What's over the next hill right here? Did you look at the map and make sure that, hey, there's not a stretch of road that you're gonna run out of gas on? You know, did you bring enough underwear? Be prepared. Like, just, you know, I'm not saying don't throw caution to the wind per se. This is about being prepared, not paranoid. Alright, so, and really the whole point is to be prepared, not paranoid, right? If your idea of being prepared for the trip is you stuff a extra pair of underwear in your pocket and you have your credit card, well, I mean, sounds like you're prepared, you know, like, you know, I'm not saying you have to plan out everything to a T. You know, I'm not saying you had to have everything ready to go and you can't have any sort of mystery on the horizon. Just prepared, not paranoid. Tip number 2. I'm gonna run out of fingers. Stop and smell the flowers. Stop and smell the roses, if you will. You know, like, take a break. You see a roadside park that looks interesting or has a scenic outlook. Take a stop. Take a picture. Talk to another traveler along the way. They don't even have to be around a motorcycle per se, right? You know, this is, the whole thing is about the experience. Stop and smell the flowers, okay? Stop and smell the roses. Because possibly, like, maybe the worst thing you could do for a trip is you get home and you realize you didn't enjoy it. I'll be honest, this last trip was almost to that point. I'm really glad I didn't try to head south earlier than I did. I almost didn't have enough time to actually just enjoy being where I was. So make sure you do that. Alright, 3. Tip number 3. This is harder with motorcycle gloves on. 3. It's going to be, this is almost a universal tip, especially if you're traveling with another person. Okay, 3rd day syndrome. Tip 3, 3rd day syndrome. This will go for if you're homesick at all too. The 3rd day, maybe the 2nd night going into the 3rd day, just depending. is going to be the roughest time on the trip for you in terms of like you're homesick. Maybe you have a pet at home. I have a cat. I love my cat. So I get really homesick for my cat more than anything. And if you're with another person, especially if you're camping with them and you're with them like 100% of the time, that's going to be the hardest day for you guys to get along. You're probably going to butt heads. You're going to disagree on something. That little, like, weird little thing that your buddy does that normally doesn't bother you is going to all of a sudden bother you, right? So, third day syndrome. That's more of just a heads up. Maybe that second night going into the third day, just you don't need to talk about it with anyone else because that's going to make it worse. Just be self-aware of what you're doing on that third day. Be aware, like, hey, I'm getting a little upset, but maybe it's not actually anything to do with how I'm actually feeling towards my friend right now. You know, you're just away from home, you've been outside of your normal routine. Anything like that is going to cause that. Number 4 tip and trick: eat your veggies. And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean like, oh, make sure you eat your vegetables. You know, this isn't like some 90s ad for Got Milk or something, like trying to get people to buy into some industry or something like that. It's more the make sure you're eating real food. If you're just eating at gas stations and things like that, beef jerky and trail mix is not a healthy diet, as much as most middle-aged men would prefer. You know, if you're camping, make sure you cook one meal a day. You know, probably dinner because you'll be at camp. You know, or breakfast even. Make sure you start off the day with something in your belly. Mainly just because of the calories you're going to burn. You burn a lot of calories on the motorcycle, more than you think. And also just dehydration, things like that. So keep your salts up as well. But eat your veggies. Take care of yourself. Because also, you know, especially if you're out in a place like this, there's no rest stops. All that gas station food will catch up to you eventually. So just be aware, eat your veggies, make sure you have one meal a day, you know, and that's not McDonald's. You know, at least go to a sit-down restaurant. I would recommend a local place. Try something new, try something outside your comfort zone. I'm not telling you to go eat the spiciest Mexican food out there either, so you know, just make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Drink water, eat your veggies. Just remember that one. You know, that kind of goes into number 5, take care of your bike. Number 5, don't be a tool. Bring your tools, right? Don't just assume, hey, my bike is fine, I ride it all the time, it's gonna be fine, I worked on it not that long ago, you know, blah, 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 blah. Make sure at least you have the stock toolkit under the seat, right? That'll get you out of a pinch at least. You know, and just look on your route. Like, understand, this is, once again, be prepared. Tip number 1, you know, is just understand where you're going. If there's a Harbor Freight every 10 miles where you're going, I mean, I guess you're kind of prepared, aren't you? You know, have that stock kit just in case, but if you can get it by to the next Harbor Freight, well, you're probably going to be fine. So don't be a tool. Bring your tools. Stop. Look both ways like they taught you. A lot of these tips and tricks kind of go hand in hand with each other, right? So the next one is be one step ahead. This kind of is almost like be prepared and whatnot, right? Like, but you want to be one step ahead at all times. Be checking the weather, and it's not, once again, just stop for gas. Do it when you stop for gas. You don't need to make it this big deal. Just do it when you're stopping for gas. You know, look at Google Maps at where you might stop for gas next, right? Once again, you don't want to run out of gas, especially if you're in a place that's just very secluded. And you don't want to get caught by weather that you could have maybe avoided instead of driving right into it. So, one step ahead, be prepared, very similar. The one step ahead though is just very much just like, it's a consistent thing, right? Don't be afraid to completely change your plans if you need to. If the weather all of a sudden is going to be 30 degrees, and like you don't even want to camp in that, mind you, then head a different direction. I'm going to guess south, but be one step ahead of everything. And once again, not paranoid about it. You're just prepared about it. That's all. Take all these, you know, tips and tricks, and like they kind of jive with each other. Like, be prepared, like I said at the beginning. If that's all you thought of, you kind of are going to think of these on your own, right? You're going to be thinking about food. You're going to be thinking about where you're stopping for gas and all these things. I don't need to keep hashing it out with you guys, because there's one more tip, I think number 7. If at all possible, guys, bring a friend. This past trip, I was originally planning to go solo. I offered up an invite to a few people, and Zach 2 Wheels from Instagram, if you know him, rides a Buell Hammerhead, and he has a couple other Buell RS. You know, check him out. You know, I work at Buell. If you didn't know, go back and I think I've talked about that in one video from last year. Bringing a friend with you is only going to enhance the experience. Like, now you have someone to share it with. Now you have someone to get through that rainstorm with. And you get to look at each other and go, this was the moment. You know, this was the moment the trip became worth it. You know, and that's kind of the whole experience, right? Because there's going to be that moment where you're like, okay, what do we got here? Sorry. There's going to be a moment that it's just like, okay, here it is. This was worth the whole trip right here. You're going to have that moment where all of a sudden you're going to get off the bike or whatever. You're going to be sitting there around the campfire maybe at night talking about the day, and you'd be like, man, like, I forgot about my job today. Like, you know, maybe forgot about the things at home that had been bothering you. Oh, sorry. Wrist got stuck there for a second. And you're gonna be able to look across the table, the campfire, as you're taking off your helmets. So you're gonna be like, that was worth it. We're gonna come back. You know, it doesn't matter like how cold, how wet, any of that stuff. So bring a friend if at all possible. Happiness is best shared. You know, as much as sometimes we don't like to admit it. But, and sometimes maybe the best tip of this one is the right friend. You know, You don't want someone that every time you suggest, oh, let's turn down that road, or let's stop at that place. It sounded cool, but it's 10 minutes out of our way, and you have a friend that's just gonna be like, nah, let's get to the hotel. I'd like to just be in air conditioning and watch some TV. Like, well, I mean, that's all fun and fun and dandy, nice and whatever the phrase is. Not gonna lie, that last night I did sit down and watch a little TV and had air conditioning, but that was the last night, right? You don't want your friend who's gonna do that on night one, and then you guys never end up doing anything, as cool as you could have, because you always took the road more traveled. But I'm gonna stop rambling on to you guys about these 7 tips and tricks. Just remember, be prepared. Just remember, eat your veggies. Just remember about that third day syndrome. Be one step ahead. Bring a friend. Try to do all of them if you can. Even if you just implement a couple of these on your next trip, I hope that it improves it. I hope that you get back and you say once again that it was worth it. So, with that, plan your next adventure. Hope you guys have fun. Hope you run into some rain. Hope you run into some things that you get to explore. Test your adversity. With that, I'm Magnamole. This has been great. Like, comment, subscribe. Go into my channel. You can actually watch me ride 1,307 miles through the Upper Peninsula of Michigan over Memorial Day here, and get to apply some of those tips and tricks myself. I love you guys. Take care. Magnamole out.